Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete.
All right, fans, huge announcement to make today and for the next couple of weeks. I'm so excited. You see, I'm not trying to toot my own horn too much, but I freaking love this podcast and I think it's great. I hope you do too, and that's why you're listening. And we're obviously doing something right because we have been growing our listeners and fan base steadily for 2 years now, and I have a pretty solid loyal following. But one thing is, it's sort of niched, right? We are niched onto a very specific, special topic of fueling female athletes. So we are small, but we are mighty in our mission. And because of that, we wanted to create a special place for our fans of female athlete nutrition who are looking for more within this much needed space. People who are looking for community, support, connection, more resources. I cannot tell you how many listeners reach out and tell me that this podcast is so needed. And yet you are all listening alone, but you're not alone, which is why we are launching the Female Athlete Nutrition Patreon. As of right now, the Patreon is live. We are going to be promoting it heavily now through early March to get our first founding members. So if you already know you're in, if you love the idea of a female athlete nutrition membership, then head to patreon.com or the Patreon app, search Female Athlete Nutrition, and boom, you are in. But if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, maybe you're unfamiliar with Patreon or unsure if a membership could be useful to you, then I'm going to take the next 90 seconds of your time to simply tell you what Patreon is. And later on, before the end of this episode, I'll tell you more details about the perks of what you get for being part of our membership. So first, what is Patreon? Patreon is mostly a membership platform and a way to support creators. You can create a free account at patreon.com or download their free app. From there, you can become a member to various different communities or support various different creators. We, Female Athlete Nutrition, are on there. To become a member, we have 2 different membership options, a donation category and a fiercely fueled community membership category. If you are into the idea of a membership, the idea of community, conversations, connections, more access to me and Rise Up Nutrition resources, great. I will be telling you more details about the membership and exactly what you get later on in this episode. Alternatively, if you're not into the community or membership thing, but just appreciate what we do here through the podcast, then Patreon allows you to simply make a monthly donation to support our mission. It's a nice way for you to say thank you to the creators of free podcasts and content that you're already benefiting from. Literally just $1 a month or $12 a year. And we would be so grateful to you for supporting us financially so we may spread the mission of female athlete nutrition. So that's what Patreon is and why we are using the platform to form the membership and keep the mission going. Now, I don't want to delay the episode, which is why you are all here, so I will get to it now. But stay tuned because I will be telling you more details about what's included in the membership later in this episode, as well as in the show notes. Or you can just head to patreon.com/female athlete nutrition and check it out for yourself. Hello, fans. Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, your host of this podcast, owner of Rise Up Nutrition, sports dietitian. Today's episode, I'm excited for because it's another client. And so we're going to do like a little bit of client testimonial type stuff and her journey with food and body and training. But also, I think a little twist maybe on this podcast is this client is a mom, and a new mom, very similar to me. And as much as I think my business and this podcast is really resonating with
female athletes. And I also often provide services to like high school and college athletes. This is the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast, and that's women of all ages and all life stages. I do have clients who are moms or who want to be moms. I do have clients who are in peri or post-menopause. I do have clients that are post-college or adult age and just like working full-time. And so I think just with that being said, I haven't necessarily on this podcast like focused on the mom population because I've been more adamant about like providing resources to, the college athlete, but or the competitive athlete, but like I really want to talk about mom life with Sarah today, who's here with us, and also just because it's been such a huge part of my life over the past year. At the time of this recording, my son is 13 months old and I'm pregnant with number 2. And Sarah, she'll tell us about her son in just a moment. So anyways, I think I just wanted to add that little disclaimer of like, one, if you're a mom athlete, or a soon to be want to be mom, awesome. I hope you'll love this episode. But 2, if you're not, if you're like 19 years old and you're like, that's the last thing I'm thinking about, I actually still think it's really important for you to listen to this episode because both Sarah and I once weren't moms, and Sarah's going to talk about her journey and becoming one. And if it's just something you just think like, okay, that might be in my future, even if it's 10, 15 years from now, like I think we're going to have a really good discussion about it. So that's my big long intro. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Me too. And let me read off kind of like a more official bio for you. So Sarah Pastura is actually one of the original clients of Rise Up Nutrition nearly 3 years ago. And she's still an advocate of the program to this day. She's actually still very involved and we chat often. At first, she was skeptical that this program with Rise Up Nutrition was right for her as she didn't fit the typical athlete mold. However, her energy expenditure was at an all-time high, which still put her in the red S category, and she was struggling with hormonal health. Sarah's journey was long and bumpy, but it just goes to show that if you never give up, your dreams can come true. Not only has she shown this in her health and nutrition, but in her education as well. She's obtained a bachelor's in visual merchandising and business admin, as well as a master's in marketing and advertising. If that wasn't enough, she's also pursuing real estate in Buffalo, New York to continue to provide for her family while being able to stay at home with her 1-year-old son, Benny.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sarah, let's go back way to the beginning. It's funny because you actually did one time provide me with a testimonial. You're up on my website with your video testimonial, but it was before I had the podcast.
Yeah. It's crazy to even think about.
I know. So it's so funny because it's like, wait, we've done this client testimonial before, but it wasn't podcast style. It was just like on Instagram. So anyways, we're going to back up a little bit and just share, what was going on kind of in your life and why you came to Rise Up Nutrition.
So I actually found you on a podcast, believe it or not. And I don't recall the name of the one I was listening to, but you were interviewed for something and you were talking about red S. Well, long ago, I was very young. I was about 16 when I started exercising, and high school kind of got at me and I tried to, fit in. I started exercising, watching, quote unquote, watching what I was eating, and just kind of went right down that slippery slope. And I went to the doctors because I stopped getting my cycle. I'd gotten it when I was 13. So I did already have it. Mm-hmm. And they told me I had athlete's triad. That is what red S was like pretty much called a long time ago.
Right.
And at that time, nobody was really first on what it is, how important it is, and what you need to do to, I guess, fix it. So they put me on birth control. It kind of hit everything. And it, I got a period, quote unquote, again, but it wasn't from me. It was from synthetic hormones. So nothing really got fixed and everything got worse because then I developed an actual full-blown eating disorder that was kind of hidden. And I honestly, to this day, don't know how long I actually had an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm. And I think that hiddenness is, again, because of like our culture and society, that it's like, you were going to the gym, you were hitting your protein shake, you were counting your macros, like things that sometimes society glorifies as
quote, healthy behaviors. And that's why it was hidden, because it was like, it was hard. It's hard against society.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
people, again, you get praised for things in this society, and it was all for the wrong reasons. So it's even harder to realize you have an issue. And especially when you have an eating disorder, it's very much so mental, and you are not ready to accept that there's an issue until you actually are ready. And let me tell you, that took way too many years until I kind of got a hard smack in the face. And I said, okay, like, it's time to get better, because I did have a future that I wanted, and I knew I always wanted kids, and couldn't really go down the same path that I was going to have a healthy life and a healthy future. So.
Mm-hmm. And see, this is why, again, I had that little intro because I think, sometimes like athletes, just speaking from that perspective, they might be like, well, maybe kids are in my future, but like, it's not like what you're thinking about right now. Or just when you're in college and you're like 20, you're like, yeah, maybe in my future, but it's not what I think about right now. But it's like, well, when are you going to think about it? I'm not saying when you're 20, you need to have a kid, although you can if you want to, but like, I'm not saying you need to, but it's like, well, at 26 or 28 or 30 or 35, when you do want to, are you going to be able to? You need to resolve these issues now so that when you do decide to, you can.
Exactly. And even, there's always I wish I did this, or I wish I did this sooner. But again, when you're in that mental space with an eating disorder, everything's so foggy. Like, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just not in the right mindset. There's not a lot of clarity. And, you do look back and you kind of regret, but there's no time for that. But I was 24 when I got married, and that's kind of when I committed to recovery. And now I had my boys at 27, and I still had to go through infertility because my body still, from so many years of like destruction, it's still just, I just still struggled. So I don't put that upon anyone,
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it too, right? Like, you're 20, you might be thinking, oh, it's in my future. Well, and then you were able to have kids at 27, right? Like, it can be a journey. It can be a journey. So I also want to hit on, just this idea, you were diagnosed with athlete's triad, and then like coming to Rise Up Nutrition. One of the reasons that you were like, I'm not sure that this is the right program, because you always had this mindset of like, oh, but I'm not an athlete.
Correct. And I remember I had like probably like 2 or 3 like calls with you to kind of like swoon me. And even though I know I wanted it, but
yeah,
it was like reassuring me, I guess, that this was the right fit, because no, I'm not an athlete. I've never did sports in school. Okay. I did cross country for 1 year, my senior year in high school, but I don't think that really counts.
Hey,
I was a dancer when I was little, but it was never anything steady where it's like, oh, I can get a scholarship for this or whatever. And like I said, I started lifting when I was 16. And then I also was a Zumba instructor when I was in college. So very much so gym based or activity based, I guess.
Yeah, like fitness based, maybe.
Yeah. Like I definitely was like incorporated in activities, but it was never something that was like, oh, I did soccer from 3 to 17, but the way I was training, even though it was only, X amount of days a week, it was the way I wasn't fueling. My body thought that I was training almost like a gymnast. And a lot of gymnasts don't get their cycles because it's like, oh, I'm training so hard, I'm restricting so hard that I don't need my period to survive, and it shuts it off. So the way I was restricting and under fueling, my body kind of went into that mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, I just know my body, and just being a very anxious person, my body actually does not hold on to fat when I'm anxious. I like wither away. So that also didn't help because the stress was also playing a big role on it.
Yeah. So I want to share this because for the person who is but I only go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, or like, or somebody who doesn't view, because here's another thing I want to add in there. Sarah's had a very active job, not presently anymore, right? But in your past, when we were working together, your job, you were like, as your job, you were moving furniture around all day long. You were on your feet. You were a go person.
And so it's like, okay, you're not playing in competitive sport, but you're hitting the gym hard a few times a week, early mornings. You're an anxious person, as you just said, and your life was on your feet and active and physical. And so it was one of those things where I had to coach you up on like, hey, if you want your body to achieve something, if you're going to use your body physically through movement, you are an athlete. And, this is what's going on with your body, whether or not you're playing a, competitive basketball game Wednesday nights or not. It's like your body's going through a very similar thing and you're putting a lot of physical demands on it and it's high energy expenditure. And you need to fuel your body for your activities and for your movement. And so I think that's where joining this program really was the right fit for you, because we had that and you love the gym. You like lifting weights. Like you wanted to know, how do I fuel to do that right? And so I was able to give you that kind of sports nutrition edge. So again, not to rehash like stuff from 3 years ago too much, but if you could kind of summarize to our listeners, what were some major things that you accomplished in our time together that kind of resulted in your recovery mentally and physically, or basically some of the biggest transformations you experienced?
Okay. So like I said, I am a very anxious person and need a lot of reassurance to get through any like roadblocks in my life. So that was definitely great. The one-on-one calls, there was just loads of reassurance. And I also just had to work a lot on like the mindset aspect. And this program really is just such a good blend of nutrition and mindset that I actually stopped seeing my local therapist because I got so much knowledge in both ways just through your program. And so that really helped because by the end of it, I just had to manifest. And my goal through this was to retain my period and obviously to get pregnant, not necessarily within the 12 weeks, but to get pregnant and just be in a healthier body for me. So by the end of it, I was just like, you know what, Lindsay, I'm going to get my period. And lo and behold, I did get it back. So, we did get to the end result, but also just learning things along the way and the challenges that you made us do and realizing that nothing's going to happen. There's things that I do now on a daily basis that used to freak me out before. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. And there's days that I'll find myself thinking of something but I stop myself. And I'm like, you get that gut feeling like I just did something wrong, and you kind of turn yourself around or you don't act on it. And every day it gets a little bit easier. And I hope to get to an even better place, years from now, because every day, no matter what problem you have, you can get better and better and better every day. But I don't think I ever thought it'd be possible to be where I am right now.
And I seriously remember even after just the 12 weeks, I remember doing your original client testimonial video lives somewhere on Facebook and Instagram. And at the end of 12 weeks, I remember you being like, we just ordered pizza the other day. You're like, it was awesome. There's no restriction. It was good. I just went with the flow. Like it's what my husband wanted. And so as you said, you had huge transformations in 12 weeks with the way that you were, one, actually fueling, two, processing and thinking about food differently, like that mindset support. And then I don't think it was in the 3 months, but it was really soon after, like within 4 months or 5 months, you got a period.
Yeah, it was because I did the continuing program and I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after the program. I'm like, come on, I didn't get the 12 weeks, but I got the 15 or whatever.
Yeah. Which is one thing I do say, if you are coming to me with hormonal imbalances, I do offer the fast track as a 12-week program. I'm not saying you'll get your hormones balanced in 12 weeks. That's a promise I can't make, but you will be applying and learning everything so that it's just a matter of time. And for you, it was just a few weeks after that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which was great. So that goal of I actually did restore my period, and then knowing, here years later, I know how to reframe my mindset. Sure, sometimes a question or a doubt or insecurity pops up. I know how to reframe my mindset. I have the tools I can refer back to. Also, you're still a part of our community, which is something I want to express. We have our girls in the program. We have an alumni program. Regardless of if you're in the alumni program or not, we have an ongoing group chat. And Sarah, you're actually somebody who really utilizes that. I mean, we hear from you in some way, shape, or form, I don't know, once a week, once every other week of you, whether it's asking a question or supporting and encouraging others or just sharing your wins. And I honestly think that's really there's a lot of reasons why you're successful. Okay. But part of why you're still feeling like this momentum and progress after all these years is because you have your team, you have your nutrition team. Like you're not alone in this. If you post a question, like somebody will answer it. And it's, I think, a more trusted community than like some generalized like Facebook groups where there's thousands of members that you don't even know them. Right. Like myself and Jenna, like respond to things, and people who are in the program with you and new girls who are just in there now. And so, I just want to share that for whether you're a current client or a past client, like Sarah still this is a lifelong membership.
Yeah.
I always say, as long as I'm still in business, and my fingers crossed, I'm in business for a while, but
you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that you already shed light on is you did restore your menstrual cycle. So proud of you for that. And you've been able to maintain it. We can get to that in a little bit, but you also were very eager. Like, I want children now. And even though you restored your cycle, you were still having difficulty getting pregnant. This is just another reality. Okay. This is why, again, all of our younger clients, I think it's important for you to hear. It's not just like, I want to get pregnant, and you do. Sometimes it takes more time. And so you, despite making these huge improvements and health changes, it was a lot of damage that your body went through, and then a lot of transformation that your body went through. And so there was some infertility involved and some medical treatment that was sought. And I think that whole process, that takes a toll on your body. Okay. And then two, kind of shifting, eventually it all did work and you did become pregnant. And we also have like the whole aspect of like body changing, hunger, appetite cues being different, metabolic needs increasing to grow humans inside of you. And so I wonder if you could shed light on how doing the program actually helped prepare you for the difficulties of the fertility journey and the pregnancy journey.
Well, I also just do want to preface too that I didn't like have to start fertility right away as quickly as I did post recovery, but it was just something that me and my husband were like literally dying to achieve. So could I have given it more time? Yes. But I also remember being on the porch as a little girl and at my hometown and telling my mom I wanted to be a mom when I was 13. So,
yeah,
I was waiting a decade and I just was so eager to be a mom. So it was like, as soon as I got my period, I'm like, I need to be pregnant,
Yeah.
That's not everybody. But anyway, the other thing that helped me stay positive throughout this journey, as hard as it is with fertility, is that my body was responding.
Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to say, because if you are still restricting and still are undernourished and underfueled, your body will not respond to the hormones that they're giving you. So I just kind of want to give that too. So it gave me a little bit of hope that I was doing something right, and I had to stay on that track. As far as it goes with my body changing, well, my body changed a lot throughout the 12 weeks. So I had to already get uncomfortable. And I think that really helped because it gave me, I was so scared to gain weight, as a lot of people I'm sure are. But honestly, it was the best thing that I ever did and will ever do again, but we'll get to that. And so once I got pregnant, you obviously know things are going to change again. And as much as I was still nervous, I think every woman is when they get pregnant, I think I was ready for it because I had done so much work already. And then I had to go through fertility. I'm like, bring it on. Obviously, I was still active. I was still at my very active job, and I still am till next month. But
okay. I knew that was coming up soon. I didn't know if it already happened. Okay.
Yes. So I still was, my body was very much so used to moving furniture on a daily basis. And I did I wasn't lifting power sofas like I used to, but I still was walking a ton. I still was doing some small lifting at work on top of trying to do some like prenatal Pilates or something like that at home just to keep moving, just for myself. So it's definitely still active, but by no means was that the reason. I didn't do it on purpose, I guess, to keep my body in some sort of way during pregnancy. So it definitely helped that I already had done the hard work to be in the right mental place for it to happen. You also have to just keep in mind, like, you are growing a human. So things are going to change. I mean, a lot of that is going towards the baby. I mean, you have to think about the water weight, the placenta, the baby, like, it's not just fat, which people always think of when you say gain weight, and that's not the case. So it really, really helped me a lot just going through the program before. I think I wouldn't have taken it so easy if I didn't do this before. And I actually loved my bump. I miss it, actually.
Yeah. And I think too, I understand that gaining weight just because sometimes we gain weight just because. Sometimes we gain weight because it's a tough time in our lives, because we're stressed. Sometimes we gain weight because of making dietary changes, recovery. Sometimes we gain weight because we need to for health reasons. And sometimes we gain weight because we're growing a human, right? There's a lot of different reasons. And I think some people will be like, oh, well, I'll be able to deal with it when it's for pregnancy. Like, oh, because that's a reason, right? But the reason I'm struggling now with it is because, like, there's no reason. Well, I would disagree with that. First and foremost, it's still hard when you're pregnant. And also, I think one of the differences that I personally really resonate with, like, gaining weight during pregnancy is it's very different than just gaining weight, because, like, your body shape changes, like your ligaments change, like you grow an extra organ, like it's just like your center of gravity is like very off, which is when you're gaining weight for other reasons in life, like those things aren't happening. So it is a different type of weight gain, but it's like finding acceptance with your body, gratitude for your body, accepting of body changes, be it weight gain, weight loss, muscle toning, muscle loss, whatever, is really important, because the challenge of your body changing during pregnancy is still a challenge. Even though there's a rational reason, I'm growing a human, doesn't necessarily make it easier, because it's very rapid every week. Like, I'm going through it again right now. And it's like every week I'm like, oh my God, this is like I'm in the awkward stage right now, Sarah, where my big size pants don't fit or are very uncomfortable, but the maternity clothes really don't fit either, because, like, it's not like, I put maternity pants on yesterday and then they were like falling down the whole day. But like earlier in the week, I put on my air quote bigger jeans and like a hair tie around the button, and like it still didn't work. Right. So I'm like hopeful for a few more weeks that the maternity pants will fit better, because I'm just in that really awkward stage. Like, it's still hard to go through body changes, whether there's a quote reason that you rationally understand and accept or not. So I think you going through the program, learning more coping skills about, body appreciation, body respect, being more comfortable in the uncomfortable, and being more accepting of body changes really helped you get through the pregnancy process a lot easier. Like, had you not done that mental work prior, it would have been a lot harder. And I've heard that from women with body image and eating disorders or disordered eating. Like, if they do get pregnant and they haven't done that work, like, pregnancy is really rough for them mentally.
Exactly. And we will like get further into my story, but I actually didn't get to gain all the weight that was needed, as I didn't make it to the third trimester. So I know it would have gotten a lot more uncomfortable. And there was a lot of like self-blame that, because I had an eating disorder in the past, I didn't eat enough during pregnancy, and that's the reason why. And I'm working through a lot of that to this day, to be honest. And my son will be 17 months next month. So in just a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah.
But that's something that I've been reassured about. And there's many women that are extremely sick during their pregnancy and really can't eat, but yet they have a healthy growing baby, because your body knows what to do. And
body prioritizes that. Yeah.
Correct. And most of us know, just going through the program, I knew I was on the right track. So, things happen.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gents who love female athlete nutrition, conversation break so I can tell you more about our super exciting new Patreon launch and our fiercely fueled Patreon community. So, of course, people who need one-on-one help with their nutrition become clients. Please keep doing that. Reach out if you need one-on-one help, because that is irreplaceable. But there are a lot of people who just want to keep learning, just want to be a part of the right supportive, fueling environment, who want to build connections, who would love to ask me a question or have access to me from time to time, but maybe don't necessarily need a whole nutrition program, right? Right. I know this because it's what you've all told me via emails and phone calls over the past few years. So finally, this is what we are offering: a fiercely fueled female athlete community through patreon.com. Go to patreon.com/female athlete nutrition or download the Patreon app and search Female Athlete Nutrition. For $10 a month, you can be a part of this community, and here's what you get. There's a community board, basically like a group chat. You can post, connect, ask, engage with others, and myself and my assistant, who will also monitor the page and connect and engage. Once a month, I'll drop a tried and true recipe curated specifically for female athletes, something fueling and nourishing. And once a month, I'll have an exclusive Q&A podcast episode answering your questions. So within the community chat, we'll prompt you to submit questions, and I will personally answer them, so you do have access to me and my knowledge or expertise on your personal concerns. By the way, this Q&A episode is exclusive to the membership. It will not be on the free podcast on Spotify or Apple, etc. It will only be for Patreon members. So if you want access to me in this bonus episode, become a member. Further, Patreon members will receive 15% off our Female Athlete Nutrition online course and any downloadable products in our online shop, which is always growing. Things including the Red S Recovery Guide, High Iron Fueling Guide, mini course, and soon to come Coach's Toolkit and more. Patreon members will have access to other discounts through our affiliate partners, and last, of course, merch and swag. So you get all of this, so much to connect, learn, engage, bonus episodes, recipes, discounts, all for just $10 a month. Yes, I have a free Instagram. Yes, I have a free Facebook group with free content. But I think we all know what happens with free social media sites. They get bogged down, trolled upon, it gets messy, and you don't get personalization. So with this paid membership, it's really a small but mighty community of people who are invested in the fierce, fit, and fueled mission. And again, that closer access to me and what Rise Up Nutrition is offering. So here's another angle I want to pose to you. Not only is this fiercely fueled community for you, but I also want to say that this is for the greater good of all female athletes. Again, I cannot tell you how many people say this free podcast has truly changed their life or been a source of much needed information. It warms my heart and literally brings me to tears on multiple occasions. And yet, there are so many athletes who still need help. So many young girls, so many struggling adults. It's not good enough. I'm not done yet. It is my mission to stop disordered eating and help female athletes of the present and future truly fuel their bodies and minds for optimal performance. So by being a member, you truly help keep this mission going so that thousands, maybe someday hundreds of thousands of female athletes can have access to this information and resources, and that this information grows, that it's not just me, it's you and our members spreading the mission as well. So this membership is for you, all the perks you get, but it's also for your teammate, your sister, your daughter, the future generation. Your membership and or donation makes a difference. So thank you. Patreon.com/female athlete nutrition. Links in the show notes.
Yeah. So let's shift now. I think we talked enough about like your past and the program and stuff like that. So now we're in the part of your story where, you know, I think, do you want to continue to focus on the pregnancy piece a little bit and like,
Yeah, I can.
And that, and what happened there? Is that something you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah. So like I said, I went through all the fertility. We did multiple rounds. I think I had to go through like 5 rounds of medication, yet 3 attempts, if that makes sense. Cause I think one time it didn't work the way they wanted it to. One time I missed it because we miscalculated and I ended up getting my period, which in a weird way, I was actually really upset that time that I got my period, but you know,
because prior to that, we were always celebrating when you got your period.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I ended up doing, the last time when I ended up getting pregnant, I had to do injections and I did an IUI and ended up getting pregnant. So around 5 weeks, I ended up getting violently ill. Hello, morning sickness. And it was very, very early on. So I went to the fertility clinic to find out I was having twins. So not only was I excited to be, well, I was very excited to be pregnant. I was a little bit taken back, might I say, to find out I was having twins. And that wasn't great on my mental health, but I got through it. And then I was extremely excited. So I knew my body was going to change to an nth degree. But then again, I am lucky to live in a very small body to begin with. I've always just been that type of stature, and I didn't get that big to the beginning, but the most of your weight gain and your baby's weight growth ends up being more so at the end of the second trimester and in the third trimester. Well, I only made it to 30 weeks. Twins do usually come earlier. You can hold them full term. It just kind of varies. Nothing was really that wrong in my pregnancy. Everything was going great. However, at about 18 weeks, it was like 18 or 20 weeks, I did find out that baby B had a heart condition. It was a congenital heart defect. So we still don't know to this day all of the answers of why I went into spontaneous labor at 30 weeks, but I do believe in my heart that it had to do something with baby B's heart condition, because there is also a thing that happens where they stop growing in utero and they have to be born anyway. And I think my body was almost like rejecting, because my body knew something was wrong. So they did also call it a partial placenta abruption, which means it was like a detaching from the wall. But again, everything came out fine and we still don't know. So that's kind of hard anyway.
Yeah.
So I had my boys. I had 2 boys at 30 weeks, and they were very tiny at 2'8" and 3'8". And we ended up being in the NICU for about 55 days. Now, like I said, at this time, at 30 weeks, I definitely looked pregnant, but everybody was very shocked to find out I was having twins. And again, this is where I said there was a little bit of doubt in my mind that I didn't do the right part in fueling my body correctly. But I know coming from this program, I was doing a great job. And I just have small babies.
Well, and I think too, as you're talking to, like, I want to reassure you and anybody listening that premature births, pregnancy complications, miscarriages, loss of children, these can happen for 1,000 different reasons and sometimes no reason at all. And obviously you already mentioned in the beginning of this call, like, you're still processing and grieving a lot, and as you will, but it's one of those things where it's like, this was not your fault. And knowing that you did bring to life 2 baby boys.
Right. And the other thing is that baby A, Benjamin, thrived in the NICU, if that's even a thing. Mm-hmm. But he did, as much as it was a very long 55 days. He grew healthy. He passed all of his tests. He was just, every day there was a new win. And obviously it's never linear, but he bounced right back if there ever was a little hiccup. And baby B, Matthew, the one that had his heart defect, we couldn't even get him to gain an ounce a day. And even if we were feeding him, we weren't feeding him, then he was getting tests, then he was getting, it was just a mess.
Yeah.
But going back a little bit, because I didn't really get into that huge weight gain where my boys would have put on their weight that they needed to be happy and healthy right away in the hospital, and of the stress of everything that happened within my birth and going to the NICU, again, I said that my body does not like stress. And with the trauma that happened, my body withered away in maybe a week. I just look emaciated in about a week. And it was incredible because I was exclusively pumping for my boys. I was like, as a mom, you will do anything for your kids. And so I don't think I was ready for the amount of fuel you need when you're breastfeeding for twins. Because let me tell you, it's a lot. But I was like chugging milk in the middle of the night and eating energy balls. But it takes a lot out of your body.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the postpartum stuff too. But I think postpartum and the breastfeeding and how much you have to stay hydrated and stay fueled while you're dealing with just a new baby and sleepless nights. And then your story of babies in the NICU and the stress of that, like the stress and energy expenditure, the amount of calories you were burning through every day was just immense. And
exactly. And you know me that I'm not the one just to like sit and lounge, like kind of can't do that. So I think it was almost one, I went up to the hospital every single day that they were there, and I spent hours there, and you never know what news you're getting. So like that already like got you fired up. And then obviously I wasn't working out at this point. So let me preface that I was not working out. I was very much so freshly postpartum, like that's not a thing. So
no,
that's the other thing too, is I was able to realize that like, this is not the time to try to push my body. So wasn't working out and still fueling a ton. But when I was home, my babies were not with me. What do I do but nest? I was cleaning the house. I was, you have to stay busy because your mind wanders. So that definitely did not help in this situation either. But so it was a long, long journey. My birth was also pretty traumatic, as the reason I went into labor at 30 weeks was because I just started bleeding and bled for about 48 hours. So they were going to try to keep me pregnant and stay on bed rest until a scheduled induction at 38 weeks. But my body said no. And I continued to dilate and was able to deliver them safely. So, as much as all of that happened, the story kind of intensified. And I don't even know how many weeks he was at that point, but 6 weeks after the boys were born, Matthew ended up getting a intestinal disease that a lot of preemies get, which thank God I didn't know about this. I had enough things on my mind to worry about, but a lot of the times preemie babies, like their bodies just aren't ready to work efficiently. So everything trying to work so hard, sometimes the intestines will shut itself off. The other reason that most of the time that this happens is if they have a cardiac issue, because the blood flow is already incorrect. Now, in utero, his heart was working correctly because the body's very cool and it keeps the valve open that needed to stay open in his heart specifically. So out of the womb, he was struggling, ended up getting necrotizing colitis and emergency surgery, which his little body at like not even 3 pounds couldn't fight it. He did get through surgery fine, but a piece was still infected in there and ended up spreading again. And his body couldn't fight the stress of post-recovery and the trauma that his body just went through. So they could not stabilize him. And as soon as he stabilized one thing, another thing went off. And he ended up throwing a stroke. And some of his fingers ended up actually losing circulation as well from the IVs in his arm. So I hope I'm not throwing anybody off in like a big trigger warning, but, as parents, John and I had to make a very, very hard decision because there was about 7 machines trying to keep my son alive. So knowing, especially after his electrolytes went off or unleveled, that he would have had a lot of neurological damage as well as his heart. And his heart did require 3 open heart surgeries by the time he was 5. So he did end up passing away on October 14th of 2021. And then Benjamin ended up staying there for probably 3 more weeks until he came home. And he came home at 2 months old at only 6 pounds. So it's crazy because a lot of full-term babies come home at 6 pounds and he was already 2 months old. So just kind of puts it in perspective a little bit, but
yeah. So, and thank you for being open and willing. I think I'll probably add a little thing in the beginning of the podcast just to mention the loss, because I know for people going through this, it could be triggering. Absolutely. Because it's truly tragic. But I think kind of getting back to the focus on your journey as with nutrition and health and stuff, like I think that also puts into perspective this trauma that you experienced. Then life was really hard. You're a new mom. You just went through a difficult pregnancy, a traumatic birth, and then go through huge emotional loss and grief. And your body and your breastfeeding, pumping, like the demands on your body were so high, and it kind of, like you said, like your body kind of withered away. And
yeah, I definitely could not keep up with it at all.
mm-mm. And so you reached out to me a couple times because you're like, well, one, just for general advice. And I was just like, chug milk, like more, eat ice cream, chug milk, more energy bites, spoonfuls of peanut butter, and trying to give you just any quick fueling tips that I could. But I think you had this fear, and I don't know if it was right away, but you had this fear in the back of your mind that like you were going backwards or like relapsing, or what if you lose, you did lose or not have your menstrual cycle for a while, which was also totally normal postpartum anyways. And there was that fear of like, where's my health at? You worked so hard to get in a healthy place, and then so quickly we're kind of back, but it wasn't back. And that's what some of the advice I was giving you is like, you didn't go backwards, Sarah. You're just experiencing a new stage to learn and adapt and overcome.
Right. It definitely was scary because I did have the fear. I'm like, oh no, I just lost everything that I just worked so hard for. And this honestly wasn't my fault. And I actually did not want to lose weight. Like, what?
Yeah.
So,
which was a win in and of itself, that you were like very highly concerned about this, of like, I actually will share that is a huge transformation, even of where when I first met you, you were scared of gaining weight. Now you're scared of losing weight. Not that I wanted you to be scared, but it was just like your mind shift of, I need to be healthy. I need to be strong. I need to have energy and weight and stamina. Like you embraced that and you were like, I need this. Like you wanted that. And I think that was, despite everything going on, kind of like a positive thing that you were in that mindset of like, Sarah, put weight on, get your energy up, like fuel,
Right. Well, I think I also had another incentive. Like I had a son and now I need to stay healthier for him and for my family. So that definitely helped and is still helping, honestly, to this day. I did get my cycle back about 10 months postpartum. So it definitely was a lot longer than normal because before Benjamin came home, right after Matthew passed away, I actually did stop pumping because they thought Benjamin had a protein allergy, and I literally just wanted to get out of that NICU, as you can imagine. So
yeah.
Instead of, they also wanted me to cut dairy out of my diet. And I told them, even my husband was an advocate for me and said, I don't think this is a good path for you. You're going to start watching labels. You're going to restrict again. And I don't need two things. I don't need you going down either. So
yeah,
I said, put him on formula. Let's get him home. And honestly was a blessing in disguise because it was allowing me to focus on me as much as energy expenditure was still pretty high of just living and the trauma and again, not working out, but just life itself. It definitely decreased some of the stress because my son was able to come home with me.
Yeah. I want to pause just because we are in this movement of like breast is best and that's cool and everything. And then like from a nutrition standpoint, people are like, that's best, like financial, blah, blah, blah. But like, you know what? Formula works. Okay. Formula has been feeding babies for decades and decades and everything's okay. And that you actually like prioritizing your health actually does prioritize your baby's health, right? Like if you were to remove dairy from your diet, would you have then been healthy? Then like, even though maybe Benjamin was maybe having this dairy intolerance that they were thinking, oh, you as a mom need to do that. Like, no. If that's going to compromise your health, then you're not going to show up as the best mom. So making that switch, I just want to, because I know for me, I was able to breastfeed Gabe for 7.5, almost 8 months. And we had terrible, terrible sleep months 6 and 7, terrible, like worse than the first 3 months. And what I finally realized is because he wasn't eating enough. And I kept thinking he was because I kept breastfeeding him. And when I went to a lactation consultant, I was producing enough milk, but he as a baby didn't really want it. He started, once he got mobile, he was too distracted to sit and feed. He wanted to be mobile. And I did, because of work, I had an in-home nanny at that time. And so he was used to a bottle, though he would only get like 1 bottle a day because otherwise we breastfed him. But that's just the problem, was suddenly he wasn't getting enough food because he wasn't into it anymore. And then he wasn't sleeping because he was hungry all the time. And anyways, it like hit me because then I'm not sleeping. I had the worst, me and Rob had such a terrible summer of just like no sleep. It was so difficult, worse than the first 3 months. And anyways, all this to say, like when I finally accepted, why don't I try formula? First of all, he took those formula bottles, like he loved it, like that's what he wanted. And then he started sleeping better. And then mom starts sleeping better. And mom's not as stressed. And then mom's a happier mom and taking care of her baby better. It's like, you know what? I had that thing in my head of like, oh, but I thought I was going to breastfeed longer. It's like, it's okay. What is going to keep both of you, not just the baby and not just the nutrition specifics, but like what's going to keep both of you healthiest and happiest? And so for you, it was at that time.
Right. And I was like, just happy that I was able to give them my colostrum at least, which is like they call liquid gold, especially as preemies. That's a lot of extra nutrients that I was able to give them. So honestly, I was happy I just got that. And when I knew I was going to have twins, I was going to kind of do a hybrid approach anyway, because breastfeeding exclusively for twins is just, that sounds like a nightmare.
It was a full-time job with one baby. I can't imagine. I really can't.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, as much as I didn't want to, and like I said, I'm really happy my husband kind of stepped in there for me, because again, as a mom, I would have literally driven myself into the floor for my children. So it was a kind of a good step back, like, oh wait, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he thrived on it. So it was fine. And he kind of needed it anyway, because we had to give him extra calories as a preemie.
Right. Yeah. He needed that supplemental.
Yeah. So we had to supplement his bottles, which have been even more difficult if I was breastfeeding. You can't I know I can eat more, but it's not necessarily going to make my caloric difference in my breast milk.
Right.
Like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey fans, I hope you are enjoying this conversation so far, and we'll be back to it in just a moment. But first, I want to pause and let you know that this episode is brought to you by the Female Athlete System of Transformation, aka the Fast Track to overcome disordered eating and use food as fuel to perform at your highest level. The Female Athlete System of Transformation is my unique program and proven systems to guide female athletes to understanding and implementing the proper nutrition for their sport, life, and health. Myself and my team of registered sports dietitians work one-on-one with clients to address their unique needs and counsel them through the nutritional and behavioral changes needed. Many female athletes who resonate with disordered eating, mental guilt around food and body, relative energy deficiency in sport or female athlete triad, amenorrhea, repeat injuries due to negligent nutrition, or frankly, just a lack of knowledge and understanding on their fueling needs, have seen incredible success in the Fast Track. After years of working as a sports RD, I've compiled the most effective ways for female athletes to learn nutrition, be supported, be challenged, and ultimately find their success with fueling as fast as possible. So don't wait another day. Get to your goals faster by joining the Female Athlete System of Transformation. Look in the show notes or head to the website to book a free call and learn more. Okay, now let's get you back to the conversation. Enjoy.
So I think like all of that, just like awesome conversations about the demands on your body, how you were dealing with it. And then I think as you made that shift to formula, that took a little bit of demand off your body. Again, this was still very challenging and sensitive time in your life. But as all moms do, somehow we just figure it out week to week, month to month. And I think too, just like going through motherhood, there's suddenly there's these new issues with food. Right? So you have to plan and prepare, but two, you don't have time to plan and prepare. Like cooking time in the kitchen, it's just like, this has got to be quick. This has got to be simple. Going to the grocery store with a baby is difficult. Like I need to have my list ready ahead of time, which I'm very often writing at 10 o'clock at night, writing my grocery list for the next day, because the next day I can't write it because I've got, my hands full, screaming baby. I don't know. So it's just like, there's new challenges. You're busy, overwhelmed, your body's healing, cooking food, prepping food. It's just so different. And I think, I don't know. I want to reiterate again the importance of, if you are somebody who resonates with disordered eating, and by that, it can mean anything, whether it means there's certain foods you feel uncomfortable eating, whether it means you're not comfortable like eating out at restaurants or ordering takeout. If that means you have to cook everything yourself to know exactly what's in it. If that means you're thinking about food all day long. If that means that like all of these things, like I'll just tell you as a new mom, there's too many other things that are a priority. You will not have time to do that anymore. And so it's like, I just want to reiterate the importance of healing your relationship with food prior to becoming a mom.
Right. And let me add as well as obviously, what do people do when there is a loss, but send trucks of food to your house? Like I had meals for, I think, a month. I'm not even joking. And it was comfort food. It was pulled pork. It was mac and cheese. It was lasagna. And I honestly was like, I'm glad. Well, one, I used to obsess with like what people put in their meals and I didn't know. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to know, but I know this is going to fuel me the way I need it to, because I know this is more than likely calorically dense. And that's what I need right now. And I ate those meals and I found some great new recipes that are now staples in my life. And might I preface, I just have to just kind of put a little thing on there. When you are grocery shopping with a toddler, it's a workout in itself. Like you get workouts and shopping done at the same time. So it's pretty great. But yeah, and kind of making a full circle, I did mention that I withered away, but I am still to this day struggling to get that weight back up because I am still working my furniture job. I am a real estate agent. I am picking up my very strong toddler multiple times a day because he's attached to me. So, there's things that you don't think about that are still expending that energy. Plus already as an anxious person, my daily expenditure is already much higher than most.
Yeah.
So I am still on this journey to get my weight back up. And honestly, I want it this time. And it's so frustrating the opposite way. It's frustrating because I can't and I want it. Whereas before it's like, I'm scared, but I know I have to. So it's something that I'm striving for even to this day, but I know what I need to do and I'm doing it and just continuing to make little changes along the way to kind of attain that next goal. Plus, I do have my cycles back, but my cycles are very long. So I know that once I continue to feel better, well, not better, but just, for what I need, get my weight back up there, I know that my cycles will get even
more normalized,
more regular.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. And I think what you're hitting on too, I know it was episode number 82. I had Dr. Karlie Causey on this podcast, and our podcast title was Every Mom is an Athlete. Dr. Karlie is a chiropractor, just a sports specialist, and she works with female athletes and moms and postpartum. And her and her business partner, Jess, are the owners of Jen and Carrie Nursing Sports Bras, which I love and have a discount code that I'll throw in this episode. But anyways, I know that really resonated with you of like every mom is an athlete, right? Because I know a few other things that came up in your postpartum journey was like, do I have time to go to the gym? Oh my gosh, I don't. Because that was another thing, like even with getting weight up, you're like, I want to build muscle, but you don't have time to go to the gym because you're a new mom and life is busy and you're getting back to work. And it's just like, it's really hard. But it's like, wait a second, as you just said, going to the grocery store with a toddler is your workout. And that's where they came up with that slogan, every mom is an athlete, that I really resonate with too. Did you by chance see my Instagram story yesterday? It's okay if you didn't. I know.
I don't expect you, but I don't remember what it was about now.
Okay. Well, I will share this quick story. I actually did get to the gym and I ran on the treadmill for a little bit and I was actually feeling good. And I thought to myself, oh, should I do a little extra? But I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop here. So I'm proud of myself for stopping when I did, because then I'm walking from the gym to the car, and this is a gym that has childcare. So that's why I was able to run on the treadmill. And that's why I go, because stroller runs are very difficult as well. So anyways, I'm walking through the parking lot and I'm like so slow. I'm slow as molasses. I'm like, how did I just run when I can't even walk in the parking lot right now? And it hit me that I'm like, well, let's see. I'm carrying a 24-pound baby in my arms. I've got an extra 12 pounds in my belly right now with baby number 2. And I've got like a 10-pound
gym bag on because it's like my gym stuff, my shoes, my water bottle, snacks for baby, post-workout for me, extra change of clothes for baby, diaper bag. And I'm like, no, like my workout hasn't stopped yet. I'm like carrying 40 pounds across the parking lot right now. And that just hit me too of like, this is why they say every mom is an athlete, because the amount of lifting and bending and chasing and picking up that you're doing all day long. And also in like weird positions sometimes, like,
yes,
my wrists have, like, I used to be a gymnast with like pounding and flipping on my wrists, and like mom life, my wrists hurt just from these weird, I don't know, holding a baby, picking him up. I don't know.
my thumb joints.
Yes, my thumbs too.
I have like arthritis in my thumbs from picking up my 27-pound kid. Like, I like sometimes feel like I'm going to drop them because they feel like they're going to give out.
Right. So I know you and I had a lot of these conversations of like you thinking, am I going to get back to the gym? I want to build muscle. And we just had to really talk through like, hey, you're still so active right now. Like Benny is growing every single month. Like you're picking him up, you're holding him all day long. Like that is your physical activity and that is enough. And I think reframing our mindset, if, you know, your past self, your pre-mom self wanted to hit the gym and hit the weights, and it's like, you are still active and healthy, even if you're not hitting the gym and doing this, like, you know, formalized exercise, and just recognizing and appreciating all that your body is doing physically. It doesn't have to be formal athletics and formal training to be active.
Right. I definitely think I have just a new perspective on that because, again, I took off almost a year and a half when I was recovering my period. I probably should have added that before. I took extra time off after the boys because, again, my body was in a very different place than most postpartum mamas. And then I just have a routine down. And my son is going to be 17 months.
Yeah.
Next week, like in a couple of weeks. So, and I never, ever would have thought a 30-minute workout would feel great. And I would think that wasn't sufficient. Let me tell you, 30 minutes is perfect for my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do. And I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think maybe this is just the part of the episode where we'll just kind of like go back and forth a little bit about our different experiences.
Yeah.
But I totally, coming from the running world myself, like I would love to go out and run for an hour. It's not going to happen. We actually, Rob, my husband, is doing a specific training thing right now, and I'm trying to support him by running with him once a week. We literally hire a nanny so that me and Rob can run together once a week. And like, that's like a financial investment to do that. Right. But otherwise, like Gabe's not going to sit in the stroller and run with us for a whole hour. He'll do a 30-minute run in the stroller, but I'm telling you too, my neighborhood's hilly. Like that pushing that stroller, it's not that fun. So yeah, like for me, it's 30-minute workouts. Yesterday, it was I have the Peloton app, and I was able to do a 20-minute like Peloton body weight workout, or not body weight, with dumbbells, like a lifting, just not on the Peloton is what I'm trying to say. They have like a variety of things you can do, but like it was a 20-minute workout, but it was stop and go because I was doing it with Gabe. I just like, we put some toys out. I give him some bands to play with. And like, so that 20-minute workout took me 40 minutes to do because we had to stop and we had to play. And half the time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hold him for some body weight squats right now, or baby weight squats, whatever you want to call them.
Yes, I do that too.
And yeah. And that was it, right? It's like, that's all I have time for. And some days it's even less than that. And some days when I think like, oh, me and Gabe will do a workout together. Like, nope. He's like, no, we're not, Mom. We got other plans. Like, we're going to go downstairs. We're going to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I use him as my weights too sometimes. And
yeah,
my husband gets to go to the gym uninterrupted. I was like, listen, I'm doing a plank with a child, like climbing on top of me, but hey, I'm going to make it work, And so most of the time it is just those 30-minute workouts that I need to just accept. And because like you said, that's not the only thing I'm doing that day. Yeah. So if you add that with how many times I have to sweep the floor because he threw all of his food on the floor. Like, I still don't sit down much. And then I do get to have one day a week that I'm able to go to the gym, and that's maybe an hour. But you know what? It feels good. And I'm finally to a place where like I can accept that. I don't need to be at the gym for X amount of hours. Yeah, every day. And
when just that reframe too of being grateful to go to the gym one day a week. Cause I'm the same, we pay this expensive gym membership and I really only get to go once or twice a week. But it's like, I am grateful for that because one, it's for me and that's important for my own mental health and sanity. The gratitude of just like in the past, it was, I want to, work. I want to run and lift today. And now it's like, nope, like I'm going to the gym and it's still, even at the gym, only going to be like a 30, 45-minute workout because it's the time to drive there and drive back. And like, it's just timing is really of the essence when you're a mom.
It really is. And the other thing is that like since Benjamin was a preemie and it was like right after lockdown and everything, we didn't go very many places when he was first born. So he really got so used to just me or my mom watching him that he will not go to a gym daycare. He won't even let my sister watch him. So like, that's not even an option for me. It's either home or I wait till the weekend until I can actually go because my husband can watch him. So yeah, it's definitely a great mindset change that like, if I didn't have that, I'd be losing my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that I kind of solidified that. And if I don't get to work out, then I'll be upset because it is a mental release for me and you just get those endorphins or whatever, but I'll be like, okay, well, you know what, next week can be better or whatever. So that definitely is just a stress taken out of my life that I just don't need at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one more thing I want to hit on with this whole like journey of overcoming your nutrition and body struggles in order to help you with the today in this moment is like the fact that now, of course, Ben is 17 months old. My Gabe is 13 months old and they eat food. They eat real food. So now your job as a mom is not just to feed yourself, but it's feeding your baby more than just liquids and milk. It's putting together those plates. It's thinking about what type of food environment do you want to raise your child in and being comfortable, like feeding him a variety of things. Like, I want to feed Gabe homemade food, but like, that's not realistic all the time. Like I do need the pouches. I do need the puffs and the crackers from time to time. Oh my gosh. Like Gabe in the car, sometimes the only way I can keep him happy in the car is if I keep handing snacks back to him, right? So, and like, it's not going to be homemade goodies in the car, right? So feel free to elaborate a little bit on like kind of the importance of overcoming your own mental barriers with food so that you can give your child the best nutrition. When I say best nutrition, I don't mean like the cleanest ingredients. I mean like the best well-rounded food experience.
Right. So let me just tell you, I did try to do like all the homemade fun stuff and every recipe he hated. So like frozen chicken nuggets, it's fine. Like whatever. But I literally, when I'm creating his plates, I do it the same way I create my plates. Okay. Where's his protein, his fat, and his carb coming from? Did he have his fruit today? And he doesn't need his fruit today if he doesn't want it, but you just try to. And that's the key word here is I try to do it. Let me tell you, most of it lands on the floor and he just wants crackers. Mm-hmm. And I have to remind myself because I do find myself getting frustrated or having this old thought where it's like, he can't just have carbs. He needs to stabilize his blood sugar or he won't eat any protein today. How is he going to, my 17-month-old doesn't need to be growing muscle the way I'm growing muscle and his body knows what he needs. And you think about how many carbohydrates your body needs as an adult. Well, they're still growing. He wants crackers. His body just might need crackers. Mm-hmm. So I find myself getting mad, but then like I said, I still have those random thoughts where I stop myself and say, no, again, tomorrow might be better and we'll try again tomorrow. But these kids will go through these growth spurts where they eat everything in sight and then they won't eat anything at all. And I just have to remember his body knows what he wants. And in recovery, I always said, I am a Sarah size Sarah and he's going to be a Benjamin size Benjamin because he's going to eat what I give him, or I'm going to completely just pick up everything off the floor and give him the crackers that he actually wanted. And so
yeah, you brought up two really good points. First is the carbohydrate piece. Same thing with Gabe. He does bread, rice, pasta, and crackers are his favorite foods. And of course, I'm providing him proteins and fats and fruits and vegetables. But when you think about it, carbohydrates are supposed to be the majority of your diet. Again, this is something that our culture and society will try to make you think you should always limit carbohydrates. That's not the case. Carbohydrates are supposed to be the majority of your diet. It's what your brain and your muscles rely off of, and these children are growing. So yeah, just finding acceptance of like, it's okay for kids to eat carbohydrates too. Just like you had to learn that for yourself. It's okay for me to eat carbs. It's okay for the little ones to eat carbohydrates. And then your second point about like how some days he eats a lot and then some days not at all. They're so intuitive, right? Like they really are. Some days I am shocked at how much Gabe is eating. And as a dietitian, I will share, I have done the math of like, some days I'm like, oh my gosh, he just ate like 1,200, 1,300 calories, which is okay for somebody his age, right? I'm not an adult. No, again, this is a 24-pound, 13-month-old baby. So like saying 1,200, 1,300 calories is a lot for him. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just ate that much. And then the next day I'm like freaking out because I'm like, why didn't he eat his breakfast? Like what he only had 2 bites at lunch. And I'm like getting like frustrated by that. And it's like, wait a second, but this is exactly like his body knows best. Right? He's going to eat if he's hungry. And if he's not, he's going to wait till later. And it's just like, we want to, as parents, start to establish, things like meal times just for the sake of like the importance of family dinner or something like that. But there's also this intuitiveness that you see and pick up on right away, right from when they're babies. And it's like, man, it's actually honestly so refreshing. It's so refreshing. And then I find myself like in client calls and stuff, just being like, just seeing how as adults, we get so far away from what our instincts are, And so it's so refreshing to see these little babies just have their eating instincts and know exactly what to do.
Yep. They're healthy little boys.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I'm sure you've got to get back to your little one.
I do.
Yeah. I heard some screaming, so I'm going to let mama go. And, I think this was really awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you for having me, Lindsay.
I don't want to deprive you of the opportunity, even though you have to go. Do you want to do our rapid fire questions or do you got to go?
Absolutely. I've actually been thinking about these.
Okay. All right. We'll do them quickly. If there was one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life, but never get sick of it, what would it be?
It would probably be, I'm going to do a savory and a sweet. So sweet would be ice cream and savory would be chicken souvlaki.
Wow.
Literally wish I was Greek.
Greek food are some of my favorite like flavors. Greek, Mediterranean. Yeah, really good. That's a first that we've heard that answer on the podcast. What's your favorite sport to participate in?
I'd probably have to say either weightlifting or dance. Mm-hmm. Just because that's what I grew up doing. And now I just love weightlifting. So
yeah. How about as a spectator?
So I don't really watch a ton, but when I watch the Olympics, I love watching gymnastics. It's always been my favorite, even when I was little.
Great. Yeah, I love it during the Olympics. I wish we could see more of it. There's college gymnastics that you can watch from time to time, but yeah, I think it's just the Olympics is like every 4 years. It's like finally gymnastics. Yeah. All right. And then if there's a female athlete out there that you want to give a shout out to for being an inspiration and a role model, who would that be and why?
So they're actually influencer athletes.
Yeah.
So Natasha Ocean, I watch her mainly on like a YouTube channel, but she is a crazy athlete, but she is just such a good role model for women do not need to be afraid to eat.
Yeah.
Like she can probably out eat her boyfriend and she is so proud of it. And she is just such a healthy human. And then Lucy Davis, again, just a influencer athlete. And she actually used to have an eating disorder. And if you looked at her today, you would never know in 1,000 years. And she, again, proves that you don't need to be afraid. And she just did a marathon and like told everybody that she was eating about 5,000 calories a day and was proud of it because that's what I need to fuel my body to exert this marathon. So it's just refreshing to know that even if you have an eating disorder, you can be whoever you want to be and you can still be an influencer to other people. So
I love that. Thank you for sharing those names. I'm not aware of either of them, so I'll have to look into both of those ladies. And thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing all that you did in today's episode and how you continue to support our clients, because again, you're part of our community, and you showing up on our group chat and stuff is continuing to support all the other girls in our program. So I'm thankful for that. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is your last reminder of the day. Join our Patreon. Patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition. We have 2 membership options. A kind donation of just $1 per month to help spread the mission of female athlete nutrition. And the next, a membership, $10 a month, where we give you perks, including exclusive bonus episodes, ability to ask me questions and get answers, community, recipes, discounts, and more. Don't miss this opportunity to be a part of something special, something needed, something that makes a difference for yourself and the future of female athletics. There's no deadline to join. However, now through March 2nd, we will be sending our first founding members a special little gift, and our first bonus episode will release in March. So let's get this fiercely fueled community started strong. Patreon.com/femaleathletenutrition. Check out the show notes, and see you next time.